The first to die was Abby Borden. Upstairs in the guest room she was tidying, struck from behind about 19 times. The second was her husband. Andrew Borden came home late that morning, lay down on the sitting room sofa and never got up. About 10 blows while he slept. They did not die together. The medical evidence put their deaths roughly 90 minutes apart. Sit with that number. For an hour and a half, on a busy street, in broad daylight, in a locked house, the killer stayed. Silent. Somewhere inside, waiting for Andrew Borden to come home. 1 week later, the police arrested the person the state believed had done the waiting. The dead man's own daughter. Her name was Lizzie. This is the case of Lizzie Borden. You already know the song, 40 Whacks. Children still skip rope to it. But nearly every word of that rhyme is wrong, and what the record actually shows about the locked house on 2nd Street, the missing weapon, and the trial that gripped America is stranger and far less certain than the song. A jury heard that record. Their verdict is not the one the rhyme remembers. Fall River, Massachusetts, 1892. A mill town of smoke and money, and few men in it had more money than Andrew Borden. Banks, mills, commercial blocks. A fortune worth several $100,000 then, millions now. And yet he lived like a man, guarding every cent. A narrow wooden house at 92 2nd Street, downtown, with no electricity and no indoor plumbing upstairs. He shared it with his second wife, Abby, his grown daughters Emma and Lizzie, and an Irish maid named Bridget Sullivan. It was not a warm house. The daughters called their stepmother Mrs. Borden. They ate at separate sittings, and the doors the family kept locked. Front door triple fastened, bedrooms bolted. A house sealed from the inside. On the morning of August the 4th, Emma was away visiting friends. Bridget was outside, washing windows. Abby Borden went upstairs to tidy the guest room. Someone was in the house with her. What happened next, the state would spend a year trying to prove. What is certain is this. Sometime around mid-morning, Abby Borden was struck down in the guest room. About 19 blows with a bladed weapon, most of them after she had already fallen. The bed beside her was barely disturbed. No one heard her fall, or no one said they did. Around 11:15, Andrew Borden came home from his rounds. He tried his own front door and found it bolted. Bridget, letting him in, would remember struggling with the locks and swearing and hearing, from somewhere on the stairs behind her, a laugh. She would testify it was Lizzie's. Andrew lay down on the sitting room sofa for a nap. His wife had been dead, by the medical estimate, for the better part of an hour. He never knew. At about 11, Lizzie called out to Bridget, "Come down, father is dead. Somebody came in and killed him." Andrew Borden had been struck about 10 times as he slept, so violently that one eye was cleft in two. There were no signs of struggle. Nothing was stolen. Only when a neighbor asked where Mrs. Borden was, did anyone go looking. They found her upstairs, cold, in the guest room. She had been dead the whole time. The house had been locked. The street was busy. It was the middle of the morning, and nobody on 2nd Street had seen anyone come or go. The police searched the house. They found no blood-stained clothing. On Lizzie, who had been home the entire morning, not a drop. In the cellar, they found hatchets. One of them just ahead, its wooden handle freshly broken off, the blade dusted in ash as if to look long untouched. The state would call it the weapon. It could never be proved. Lizzie's account of her morning shifted. She had been in the yard. She had been in the barn loft, looking for lead for fishing sinkers, for 20 minutes or 30. An officer who checked the loft said the dust on the floor looked undisturbed. At the inquest, questioned for 3 days without a lawyer, and her defenders would say, while dosed with prescribed morphine to calm her nerves, she contradicted herself again and again. And there was one more story. A druggist told investigators that the day before the murders, a woman he identified as Lizzie had tried to buy prussic acid. Poison. He had refused her. 3 days after the murders, with police watching the house, Lizzie stood at the kitchen stove and burned a dress. Her friend Alice Russell saw it and said, "I would not let anybody see me do that, Lizzie." In December, Alice Russell told that story to a grand jury. The next day, Lizzie Borden was indicted for the murders of her father and stepmother. The trial opened in June 1893 and became a national spectacle. A Sunday school teacher, a churchwoman, a daughter of property facing the gallows. And then the state's case began to fall apart in the courtroom. The judges ruled her inquest testimony inadmissible. She had been, in effect, a prisoner without counsel. The jury would never hear a word of it. The prussic acid story excluded too. The jury never heard it. What remained was circumstantial. A hatchet head that could not be tied to the wounds. A burned dress that could not be proved to matter. A daughter with no blood on her, in a house with no one else in it. The defense asked the jury a simple question. Could a woman like this, with no history of violence, have done something like that, twice, in cold silence, and walked out spotless? The jury took about an hour. Not guilty. Jurors later said the first ballot was unanimous. They waited a while before returning, so it would not look too quick. Lizzie Borden walked free and then did the one thing nobody expected. She stayed. She took her inheritance, bought a mansion up on the hill, named it Maplecroft, and began calling herself Lizbeth. Fall River never forgave her. Neighbors crossed the street. Children reportedly chanted at her gate. They were chanting the rhyme. Lizzie Borden took an axe, gave her mother 40 whacks. Nearly every word of it is wrong. It was about 19 blows, not 40. Abby was her stepmother, not her mother, and the only jury ever to hear the case set Lizzie Borden free in about an hour. She lived behind Maplecroft's curtains for 34 years and died in June 1927. Her sister Emma, who had long since left her, died 9 days later. They are buried in the family plot beside Andrew and Abby. No one else was ever charged. No one was ever convicted. The house on 2nd Street still stands, and today it is a bed and breakfast, where guests pay to sleep in the room where Abby Borden died. Reportedly, it is the most requested room in the house. The rhyme says 40 whacks, and the rhyme is sure. The record is not. The record shows a locked house, a silent hour and a half, a verdict of not guilty, and a question that has now gone unanswered for more than a century. Who was waiting inside the Borden house that morning? The rhyme does not know, and the record does not rhyme.